You know, getting good financial advice can have you running around like a nun on spring break. But luckily, there are a few things to know so that you can know you're getting good financial advice.
Push her out. We can't leave her alone. Push the bitch out!
Number one, they use percentages and not real numbers. Back when I was younger, in my teenage years, just starting off in my financial journey, I would go up to older men and I would ask them, hey, I want to get my own place, I want to get my own apartment, how much should I be spending? Now, if somebody knows what they're talking about, they'll give you a percentage of what you make, okay? If they don't know what they're talking about, they'll give you the same advice that I was given, which was in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, you should only spend $300 a month on a place to stay. Gotta love that boomer advice. Obviously, that's insane. Well, one of the reasons it's insane and one of the reasons that it's such bad advice is because it uses actual numbers, okay? So here's the thing. If somebody gives you advice and they use a percentage, there's a greater chance that that person actually knows what they're talking about, because in the financial world, the entire thing is ran by percentages. If you were to come to me and you were to say, hey, with the same question, how much should I be spending on a car? How much should I be spending on a house? How much should I be spending on groceries? How much should I be spending on my girlfriend, on my dog, whatever it might be, whatever category you would have in your head, I'm going to tell you a percentage of what you make. If that percentage is not enough to cover that cost, it's a real good indicator that you can't afford it. Either you need to make more or you can't afford it. So imagine this. You come to me and you say, hey, I need to know how much to save every single month. And I tell you, here's what you do. You save $500 every single month, and that'll lead to financial success. Well, as I've previously stated, you know that I'm full of shit because I didn't give you a percentage, I gave you an actual number. So let's just extrapolate this, okay, to the real world. Now, let's say you're a teenager and you come to me with the exact same question, and I tell you $500 you need to be saving a month. Well, here's the deal, especially if you're a teenager. If you have a job that you only make $500 a month, are you supposed to save every little bit? Because that sucks. You know, you want to go out and take your girlfriends out, you want to take your boys out, you want to get out of town for the weekend, or you may just want to put down on a car, you may want to buy a car, you may want to save up for a house. These are this type of things that it doesn't make any sense when you give somebody real numbers. You give them a percentage. Let's go the other way with that. Let's say you have a very good job, right? You're making something like 60 to 80K a year. And here's the thing, you come to me and you say, hey, how much should I be saving out of my paycheck in order for me to live frugally, in order for me to retire comfortably? And I say $500 a month. Here's the thing, that's a little low, okay? Now, maybe it's right where you should be at, I don't know. But you're starting to get to the level where $500 a month at that level is a little low. So again, that advice does not work, and it doesn't work because it's not a percentage and it's a real number, okay? Now here's the actual advice. And people fuss and fight over this all the time, but people roughly say you should save 10 to 20% of your take-home pay of whatever you take home every single week out of every single paycheck. Now here's the thing, you can take that advice and you can extrapolate that to whatever situation you're in. So I'm going to introduce you to a new word right now that you need to put into your lexicon, okay? You need to learn it, and you need to learn it very well. It's called scalability.
Scalability.
Scalability is why things like this work and how you can know you're actually getting good advice. So just to recap, if you're getting financial advice, you need to make sure it comes in the form of percentages, because percentages are scalable based on your situation, okay? So no matter what you make, I can tell you to save 10%, 20% of that for whatever it is your goals might be, okay? But if I give you a real number, you may not be able to save that real number, or you might be able to save much more than that real number. So scalability matters a whole lot when it comes to personal finance, and if the person you're getting advice from understands that, there's a good chance that they know what they're talking about. Number two, they focus on principles and not predictions. So here's what I mean by that. If you go to somebody and you ask them their advice, what should I do in this situation in terms of your finances? And they say,
Bitcoin's about to take off. This stock is about to take off. You should be investing in real estate.
Okay, so all of these things, while they're not necessarily bad advice, they're predictions. Okay? They're not principles. So a principle is you should save 10 to 20% of your take-home pay to put in savings, okay? A principle is you should spend no more than 50% of your take-home pay on your rent, on your mortgage every month, okay? Those are all principles. A prediction is throw all your money in Bitcoin, throw all your money in the stock market. It doesn't matter if they claim to diversify or do anything like that, okay? All they're doing is they're making a prediction saying, here's where you should focus your money, because they're predicting, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're predicting that that stock, that item, that commodity, that house, that thing is going to take off in value, and they're going to take you with it, of course. It is a sliver away from a get rich quick scheme. I don't know why I can't say that. So this is a good thing to compare whenever there's somebody telling you to do this, somebody telling you to do this, and you don't really know what path to take. Usually, one or both of those people, those places, are telling you a prediction, okay? Here's where you need to put your money. Here's where you need to put your money. These things are predictions, okay? They're not principles. What we want to talk about, what we want to have a discussion over are our principles, okay? So we compare each other to our principles, and we say, okay, well, this principle would actually work better for you. You need to be saving more, right? Because you're closer to retirement. You can't really be investing so much because you're going to retire in less than 10 years. And if you lose that capital, you're going to really be hurting, okay? So that's a principle. If you're young, for instance, I'd say, yeah, screw it, man. Go throw some extra dough in Bitcoin if you can afford it. I mean, that'd be great. Because if you lose that money, totally lose every single bit of it, then guess what? You still got all that time to make that back. So what we're discussing here is a principle and not a prediction. But if you come to me and you say, hey, man, all my bills are paid, right? I spend 25% on all my bills, 25% on my savings. I spend 25% on my rent, and I've got 25% of every single paycheck left. What do I do with it? I could tell you, well, maybe you could throw some into some risky stocks, to some risky, let's say, bets, okay? Because that's kind of what they really are. That's actually fine. We're discussing a principle versus somebody who just tells you, well, whatever, if you have the money in your account, just throw it at this. It's a totally different world. If they care about your finances, or if they care about you in any way, they're not going to give you a prediction. They're going to constantly hammer home principles, okay? I've had several discussions with my friends about Bitcoin, about savings accounts and things like that. And my friends, for instance, who are kind of dumb when it comes to money and, constantly broke because of it, are telling me things like, well, why even have a savings account when I can just put all my money in Bitcoin, because most places take Bitcoin now. And it's like, okay, here what we have, again, is a difference between a prediction and a principle. Okay, so a prediction would be, hey, my buddy's saying, let's just put all our money in Bitcoin and rely on that. A principle would say, okay, we can put some money in Bitcoin, but we're going to take 10 to 20% of our take-home pay, and we're going to make sure that that's tucked away first. And then we can deal with Bitcoin, and we can kind of screw around and do whatever we want, okay? That's a principle that we need to hammer home, and that people really deeply need to understand. When you're getting financial advice, you want to stay away from predictions. While predictions may be a get-rich-quick scheme, true financial independence is a habit that you develop based on the principles and the rules that you place on yourself. My third point is a little bit controversial, but this is a general rule of thumb. If the person you're getting financial advice from can or is making money off of you, it's usually a bad thing. Usually. If you seek somebody out, okay, like a CPA, you go specifically for the intent of paying somebody to sift through your finances with you, physically, tangibly in a place, that's a totally different story than what I'm talking about, okay? What I'm talking about are people that sell you courses. They want to sell you a book. They want to sell you on something else. And what it basically means is if someone is going to profit from you, you have to take their advice with a grain of salt because they want to profit from you, okay? And that's not the worst thing in the world, but it is something you really need to take with a grain of salt. Okay, whatever it is they're telling you, you need to say, okay, well, maybe I should get a second opinion on this, which is really what you need to do, is get multiple opinions on things from people who do not stand to make a buck off of you if you fail. This comes back to the problem of bland advice. Bland advice will give you exactly that, bland advice. It looks like this, me telling you, save 20% of your income. Okay, so generally that's good, and I actually do believe that that works for most people, but here's the thing. Your financial situation might be so dire that you still can't afford to save 20% of that. You might be so laid down with debt that savings is not something that should be on your agenda, okay? And some people are in that situation. So you need somebody that knows your personal situation, and they know that from you sitting down and you telling them, okay? There's nothing wrong with reading books, there's nothing wrong with taking courses, but ideally you want those things before your life turns into financial wreck and ruin, okay? You learn how to steer the boat before you crash it, all right? Now, I know that that might be hindsight 2020. You look back on your life and say, God, well, duh, I wish, I would have known this, or somebody would have told me this back in my 20s. I get all that, okay? And I get the situation you're in right now might be really difficult, but like I said, as a general rule of thumb, you don't want to place yourself in or under somebody that stands to make a buck off of you, whether you win or lose. Putting yourself in a situation where somebody stands to make money off of you if you succeed would be best, such as whenever I was younger and I was looking to buy my first house, the first thing I did without knowing anything was walking into my bank and I said, hey, can I talk to somebody who knows how to buy a house? And that's exactly what I said. And they sat me down with a mortgage loan officer. And I said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'd like to buy a house. Can you help me? So that guy stood to make money off of me if he could help me be successful in buying a house. And I remember him sitting there grilling me. That guy pissed me off. I was sitting there and I was thinking, how dare you speak to me like this? But you know what? I was really grateful then, and I am really grateful now for the advice that guy gave me. And so back to the point here, that guy made money off of me as a mortgage lender by ensuring, to this day I still have that mortgage and I'm still paying on that mortgage, that he got a commission off of, because he helped me get that. He helped me succeed. It's a totally different world than somebody who, if you just buy a course from them, guess what? No matter if you succeed or if you fail, they got your money. They don't care. This is kind of the oxymoron, if you will, of buying books and of buying courses. It's that the books and courses worth reading are the ones that aren't going to be pushed on you by their author. And that's going to be it for this video. Again, I really appreciate you guys watching. It does take quite a bit of work to make these videos, and I promise you learning this stuff on your own takes a long time. So as long as you're here for the long journey, you'll get something from it, I promise. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.